Good morning. We will continue our discussion on chapter 14 about business combination. A while ago, we discussed that business combination is an external expansion. When we say external expansion, it involves two or more business establishment. Now, in a business combination, the acquirer or the business which purchase the other businesses obtains control of one or more businesses. So, yung business establishment na bumili doon sa isa o dalawa pang business establishment, nagkakaroon siya ng control over the operation of the business. Then we also discussed yesterday that in order to have a favorable business combination, we must take into consideration they should have the same objective or compatible set of objectives. Yesterday, we discussed the meaning of the same objective and compatible objectives. Gaya nung halimbawa natin kahapon, dapat yung mga linya ng negosyo somewhat related sa bawat isa. Gaya nung yung business na nagtitinda ng RTW, yung business na gumagawa ng tela, saka yung business na nananahi ng tela, we can say that they have compatible objectives. Bakit? Kasi nakafocus sila sa garment. Now, we also discuss that in order to acquire control, there are two methods involved. Number one, purchase method. Sa purchase method, the acquirer, yung bumibiling company, purchase the assets including the liability of the other companies. And the assets and the liabilities are recorded based on fair values, fair market values. That is number one method of acquiring control. The other one is through pooling of interest. Now, sa pooling of interest, the assets and liabilities are acquired at their book values. So, anong kaibahan ng dalawa? Sa purchase method, ang recording na asset base sa fair market values. Sa pooling of interest, ang recording ng assets acquired based sa book values. Ano ba yung tinatawag na book values? Pagka pinag-uusapan yung property, plant, and equipment, ang book value nun ay cost minus accumulated depreciation will give you the net book value. Ano naman kaibahan ng fair market value? Yung fair market value, it does not take into consideration the accumulated depreciation. Kung ano yung halaga ng property sa ngayon, sa classified ads, yun ang fair market value. Now, according to IFRS number 3, yung paggamit ng pooling of interest is already eliminated. So, ano ibig sabihin ng eliminated? Hindi na pinagagamit yung paggamit ng pooling of interest. Sa mga business combination, hindi na pinagagamit yung pooling of interest. Now we go to acquisition method of accounting for business combination. So, ang acquisition method na gagamitin natin dito ay yung purchase method. Yung pooling of interest, sabi ng IFRC, the use of this method is eliminated. So, hindi na pinagagamit. Now, there are 4 steps in the application of acquisition method. What are the 4 steps? Number 1, identify the acquirer. Number 2, determine the acquisition date. Number 3, determine the consideration given or price paid. And number 5, recognize and measure the identifiable asset acquired, the liabilities assumed, and any non-controlling interest. Any resulting goodwill or gain from the bargain purchase should be recognized. O, punta muna tayo doon sa first step, identify the acquirer. Sino ba yung tinatawag na acquirer? Yung acquirer, yun yung kumpanya na bibili. So, definitely, pag you are accounting for the business combination, the first thing that you will ask, sino ba bibili? Ngayon, pag nalaman mo na, you have identified the acquirer. The second step is the determination of the acquisition date. Kailan ba yung araw na binili? Nagkabentahan na. Ano ba ang significance ng acquisition date? Sabi, on this particular date, the acquirer obtains control of the acquiree. So, yung date na yon, yung bumibili, nagkaroon siya ng control do sa kumpanyang binili niya. O bakit pa importante yung acquisition date? Sabi, the acquisition date is critical because it is the date used to establish the fair value of the company. So, kunyari, binili ng January 5. I-establish mo yung fair market value ng mga asset base sa January 5 figures. Pwede ba natin gamitin yung fair market value ng January 1, January 2, January 3? The answer is no. Bakit? Kasi ang acquisition date is January 5. Pwede ba natin gamitin February? The answer is no. Hahanapin natin yung fair market value on the date of the acquisition, which is January 5. So, importante yung malaman yung who is the buyer, kailan yung acquisition date. We go now to the number 3 steps. Determine the consideration given. Ano ba yung consideration given? Consideration given is the price paid on the purchase of another company. And the acquirer, yung bibili, is assumed to buy the properties of the other company based on fair values. Sabi ng IFRS, consideration given in a business combination to be measured at fair value. Oh, we go now to contingent consideration. Yesterday we discussed about contingent consideration. Ano ba yung contingent consideration? Ang sabi, contingent consideration is an agreement to issue additional consideration or additional payment at a later date if specified events occur. So, ano ba yung kadalasang common agreement? Kadalasan ang common agreement would be yung mga targeted sales. Kunyari, yung acquirer, yung bumili, sabi niya, kung bebenta yung company na bibilin ko ng 5 million per month sa loob ng 3 buwan, dadagdagan ko pa yung bayad ko. Ngayon, kapag hindi naman na bumenta ng 5 milyon buwan-buwan sa loob ng 3 buwan, syempre, hindi dadagdagan yung bayad. Kaya nga tinawag na contingent. Pag sinabing contingent, ang pagpapatupad ng agreement will depend on the realization of the targeted sales or whatever is being discussed. Kung ano na pagkasunduan, kung nangyari yon, magkakaroon ng additional payment yung buyer, yung acquirer. Ngayon, kapag hindi nangyari yung gustong mangyari ng buyer, definitely hindi na magdadagdag ng payment yung buyer. What are the other related costs? So yung acquirer, magkakaroon siya ng mga additional costs. Ang tawag doon, acquisition related costs. So gastos ito nung kumpanyang bibili. Sabi, the cost the acquirer or the buyer incurs, gaya ng broker's fee, accounting, legal, and other professional fees, general administrative costs, internal costs of maintaining internal acquisition department, are not included in the price of the company acquired and are expense. So, yung mga additional expenses ng buyer, hindi pinapatong sa cost nung kumpanyang bibilin. So pagka ni-record yun ng buyer sa libro niya, hindi niya idinadagdag yung other related costs dun sa value nung pagkabili niya ng mga kumpanya. So ano ang treatment doon? The buyer or the acquirer should record those additional related costs as expense. So, hindi dinadagdag yun sa cost ng additional, hindi dinadagdag sa cost ng business na binili. Doon sa price paid, hindi dinadagdag. We go now to stock issuance costs. Ito naman related doon sa acquisition of control when you purchase shares of stocks. Sabi, when the acquirer issued shares of stocks for net asset acquired, kunyari ang pinambayad ng buyer shares of stocks doon sa binili niyang asset. The stock issuance cost such as SEC registration fee, documentary stamp tax, newspaper publication fees. This will be treated as deduction from additional paid in capital o APIC. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Ano ba yung APIC? Yung additional paid in capital, that is a component of a stockholder's equity account. Naka-credit yon. So pagka nagkaroon ng additional cost yung buyer, bumili siya ng kumpanya, portion ng ipinambayad niya, shares of stocks, siyempre magkakaroon siya ng expenses related sa issuance ng stocks. Hindi i-debit ng buyer, ng acquirer sa libro niya yung debit expenses. Anong pande-debit niya? Ang i-debit niya, additional paid in capital. Tapos credit probably credit cash kung may babayaran siya. Kasi expenses So hindi niya i-debit yung expenses, kundi ang i-debit niya additional paid in capital, credit cash, or credit liability account kung hindi pa niya nababayaran ng buo. Now we go to recording of the acquirer's asset and liabilities assumed. So ang pinag-uusapin natin dito yung determination ng consideration given or price paid. So we have two conditions that may happen. Number one, price paid exceeds the fair values assigned to the net asset. Price paid exceeds the fair values assigned to net asset. The second one, price paid is less than the fair value assigned to net asset. So ano yung una? Price paid exceed the fair market value assigned to the asset. So mas malaki yung ibinayad kesa dun sa fair market value ng asset. So, kung mas malaki yung ibinayad kesa sa fair market value ng asset na tinanggap, yung difference is to be recorded as goodwill. And this goodwill is not amortized. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng goodwill not amortized? Ibig sabihin yung goodwill, pag inamortize, de-debit mo goodwill expense, credit goodwill account. So paliit ng paliit yung goodwill. Pero ito, hindi ka gagamit ng amortization ng goodwill. Pag sinabing amortization ng goodwill, that is a yearly adjusting entry. Ang ginagamit dito, impairment testing ng goodwill. Ano ba yung impairment testing ng goodwill? Kinukuha yung fair market value ng goodwill at the end of the year, ikukumpara dun sa book value ng goodwill. Kung mas maliit yung fair market value, nire-reduce mo yung value ng goodwill. Now, the second one is price paid is less than the fair value. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Yung ibinayad nung kumpanyang bumibili ay mas maliit yung binayad niya kaysa tinanggap niya na fair market value ng asset. Ngayon, pagka ganun ang nangyari, yung excess ng payment sa fair value ng asset acquired, it is treated as gain on the acquisition by the acquirer. So, yung price paid in excess of the fair value, there is an example here. Yung case 1, price paid exceeds the fair market value of net identifiable assets. Yung price paid, 3.2 million. Yung fair market value ng identifiable assets, 2,620,000. So, yung sobra ng price paid do sa fair market value, nire-record as goodwill. Now, yung price paid is less than fair market value, we also have example here. Sa case number 2, yung price paid is 2,400,000. Yung fair market value ng asset, 2,620,000. So, there is a gain on acquisition, gain on purchase na 220,000. So, madali lang naman yun eh. I-compare mo yung price paid dun sa fair market value. Pag mas malaki yung price paid, meron kang goodwill. Ngayon, kapag yung price paid mas mababa dun sa fair market value ng assets na tinanggap, we have a gain on acquisition, gain on purchase by the acquirer. Normally, we do not recognize gain on the act of buying. We recognize gain on the act of selling. But in this particular case, this is the one being discussed in the book, that when the price paid, yung amount na binayad, mas maliit do sa tinanggap na assets, nagkakaroon daw ng gain on acquisition or gain on purchase. Now, if you have any question, you just write all your questions and probably send it to me through our messenger, group messenger, and I would be very glad to answer all your queries and questions. So the other topics here, like recording changes in value during measurement period, accounting accounting procedure for the acquisition of acquisition of stocks. All of them requires analysis of journal entry. I would suggest that you read them again. We will not discuss journal entries anymore here. I will discuss only topics which needs further elaboration and further explanation. But regarding review, recording of transaction by way of journal entry, we will not discuss them anymore. Now we go to the last item. Disclosure of business combination in a notes to financial statement. Ang sabi, because of the complex nature of business combination and their effects on the financial position and operating results of the combined companies, extensive disclosure is required for period in which they occur. So ano ba yung tinatawag na disclosure sa notes to financial statement? Yung disclosure means providing information to the users of the financial statement. And this information are summarized in the notes to financial statement. They are not summarized in the balance sheet. They are not summarized in the income statement. Ang makikita natin sa balance sheet, listing of assets and liabilities lang. Wala nang mga narrative. Sa income statement, summary lang ng income, summary ng cost, summary ng expenses. We cannot find narrative discussion. Now, all the narrative discussion, all the other information which cannot be found in the balance sheet and income statement are all summarized in the notes to financial statement. So, what are the common disclosure requirements? What are the items to be disclosed? We have names and description of combining entities. So, ilalagay daw yung mga pangalan ng mga kumpanyang nagsama-sama. Ano pa? Method of accounting for business combination. So, yung method of accounting, we have purchase of asset and we have purchase of shares of stocks. We do not have pooling of interest method kasi yung IFRS has not endorsed the use of the pooling of interest. Now, number 3, the effective date of combination. Yun, kasama yun. Number 4, the cost of acquisition. Kung magkano binili. And the form of consideration given. Ano ang pinambayad? Pera ba? Shares of stock ba? Including deferred and contingent consideration. So, kung may contingent consideration, ipapaliwanag ito kung ano yung napagkasunduan. Remember, yung contingent consideration, karagdagang bayad. Kung yung napagkasunduan, mga pangyayaring, mga bagay, matutupad. And so on, and so on. Now, there are no significant problem-solving exercises being discussed here sa business combination. Now, we have multiple choice questions involving theories and problems, I expect that you solve them. You do answer them. And once you have submitted to me your answer key, I will forward to you personally, individually, the answer key or the correct answers, including the solution. Uh, this ends my discussion on the topic of business combination. The next topic that I will discuss is consolidated statement of financial position, date of acquisition. I suggest that you read your materials in advance so that when I discuss, you will not be at a loss. Okay? I hope this recording of our discussion would be helpful to you to understand better or easier the materials I gave to you. Again, good morning, study well, and good luck, my students who are future CPAs. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Aral kayo, ha?